Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. I hope you all had a fabulous lunch. Today, we're going to get started speaking about how we can establish your online presence and build that. And then we're going to segue into showing you how you can really get creative about your online presence and help yourself stand out a little bit as a small business. So as Christine mentioned, my name is Darlene, and I'm a certified lead trainer with Meta. I know that many of you are probably familiar with the changes to Meta's name. The Facebook company has officially transitioned to Meta, and this name change is due to the fact that we're focusing on the future of your online presences and connections. So we're focused on building the future of social media connections and building the metaverse. And so today, we're going to get started by touching on just a few points that I feel like are going to help us all get caught up, especially if we're at different places in our understanding. So as a certified lead trainer in the small business division, these are really some of the best points that I can cover with you today, starting with establishing your presence on Facebook and Instagram. Just getting started, I know, is a big hurdle. Next, we're going to transition into a conversation about how you can experiment with all the different tools on Facebook and Instagram to help you engage with the audience you're going to be building. Next, we'll touch on how you actually engage with that audience and how you can keep them as a part of your community as you go through the years of your online business. Lastly, I'm going to show you how to manage all of this with the Meta Business Suite because I know it can be a lot to cover both platforms. You've got an inbox on one and the other, comments all over the place, but we have a nice central location where you can manage everything about your online presence. So let's get started. First, let's establish why it's important to establish our presence on these platforms. Today, we've got 3.58 billion people using Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, Messenger, and all of Facebook's platforms, all within 1 month. So you could probably see why there's a benefit to you as a small business owner in being in these communities. So you're probably thinking at this point, 3.5 million people, or 3.5 billion people, how do I get a hold of even just a small chunk of that community? The very first step to this is simply establishing yourself and your business online, having a presence. And to get started with that, the very first thing you need to do is set up your Facebook business profile and your Instagram and your Facebook page as well. So in order to be a business owner managing a Facebook page on Facebook, you must also have your own personal account. If you don't already have a business page for your business, there's a chance you already have a personal Facebook page, so we're going to start there. From your personal Facebook profile, head to the menu at the top right-hand corner that shows the 9 squares. Select Pages. And here's where the magic is going to happen. So as you're filling out the information for your business, whether you already have it filled out or you're just establishing yourself, there's a couple points that are really important to keep in mind, starting with the name you'll choose to give your business, the category you will select, which best describes what your business offers, and what that description is going to look like so folks get to know who they're interacting with when they land on your Facebook page. Once you've filled out these general details, it's time to start adding some more relevant details. You want to let the audience know when you're open, when you're available, where they can find you, and make it easy for people to do business with you. So this is one of the main points as to why we establish our business online. When customers are looking for us, they probably already have questions or already have a need for our services or products. We want to make it an instant experience by having a Facebook page that shows all of our details and lets the audience know the answers to basic questions so that they're not messaging you and making just your life a little bit easier at the end of the day. You've probably seen by now that Facebook pages look a little different than they used to. We've transitioned over to the new Pages experience. So I want to assure you, even if your Facebook page looks different now, everything is the same in terms of your followers, your likes, and your community. We simply gave it a new look. Once this Facebook page is set up, it's time to transition over to Instagram and get your business profile set up over there. We're going to connect the two of these, so you want to make sure that both are set up. Facebook and Instagram because they both work really well in tandem. To get started with an Instagram business account, the steps are a little bit different. You usually start off with a regular personal Instagram profile and then convert it to a business account by selecting a category for your business, whatever best describes what you have to offer, tapping on business when you're choosing between a creator or business account. Businesses typically fall under this category, but if you were a personal brand like a speaker or anything of this sort, depending on whether or not you consider yourself a creator or business, you might choose one or the other. You also want to enter all of that relevant information that we discussed on your Facebook page onto your Instagram because these two work in tandem. So you want to make sure all that info exists on both profiles and matches. At the end, we'll actually go ahead and connect our Facebook page that we created in step 1. And once you've done that, you're all set with a professional business Instagram account. We're going to take all of the questions at the very end of the presentation. So as you're thinking of those, jot those down on a little piece of paper or on your phone, and we'll make sure that we clarify everything we go over through today's slides. Once your business Instagram account is set up, it's time to get started. It's time to start thinking about what kind of personality and branding your business is going to have online. But before we fully get into the conversation about branding and tone for your business, let's talk about building that online presence and simply getting a little momentum started when you're new. The first step is to understand the difference between your Facebook page and your Instagram business account. They're very similar, but they might serve different audiences, so you want to make sure that your bases are covered everywhere. Let's take a look at this example by Little Lemon, a Mediterranean restaurant who chose a beautiful photo of one of their dishes, perhaps one of their appetizers, as the cover photo for their Facebook page. Your cover photo really establishes a mood, a tone, and energy for your Facebook profile, while your profile picture is more of an identifier. Lots of businesses tend to use their logo over a solid colored background, kind of like Little Lemon does in this example. But your branding is really up to you. It depends on what the face of your business looks like. However, you'll notice one really important detail. Little Lemon uses the same profile picture on Facebook and Instagram. So this helps people who found you on Facebook locate you on Instagram and vice versa. It also establishes a more professional and cohesive brand for you online, so we tend to choose this route as business owners. I know we've already covered this, but I want to reemphasize how important it is for your audience to be able to find you off of social media from your social media profiles. So your Facebook and Instagram really serve as a digital storefront or a landing spot for your online community. And that's why we want to make sure they can directly visit our website from both pages. We want to make sure that they know when we're available so we can manage expectations as to when they're going to receive our response and when they can interact with us. We also want to make sure that they know where to find us if we're a physical business. And of course, if you have a business phone number that's open to customers, this is also a fantastic place to place it so that you don't get your inbox just a little bit too full when it could have been a customer service call or vice versa. So now that you've established both profiles, Facebook and Instagram, let's talk about how you're going to grow this presence. Because I know you're looking at this and thinking, hey, wait, we said 3.58 billion people, and I just established my profiles, but I have one follower on each of them. How do I get that number to go up? I can assure you that you already know somebody in your network who wants to support your small business digitally. So the very best start is to start inviting people. You can send an invitation to everyone in your personal network to support your small business. And in addition to that, you can partner with other brands to share audiences. Oftentimes, there's an intersection between the audience that would want to visit someone else's business and your own business. So this is a great space for partnership and collaboration. As you're considering what kind of content do I want to post on Facebook and Instagram for my business, keep in mind the purpose of your communications on these platforms. Ideally, we want to make sure that our customers are updated on everything going on in our business. So if we're having special sales, special events, changed hours, or anything of the sort, this is the place to keep everyone up to date on daily changes. Remember, if someone shows up to your location and realizes that you're closed that day, the first thing they're going to do is check your social profiles to see what was posted today regarding those hours, as opposed to maybe checking your website, which is probably changed a little less frequently than your social media profiles. As you're thinking about how your visuals are going to play with Instagram and Facebook, it's important to note that you have a plethora of creative tools at your disposal as a business owner. So let's start with the formats that you can use to post your content on socials. Starting with the classic, photos. Photos are what we're most familiar with in terms of media on Facebook or Instagram. But one of the most exciting pieces of social media content is definitely video. So much more can be said with actual words and with just a few seconds of video than we can sometimes say in a still photo. Now, a nice midpoint between the two of these is stories. Stories allow you to post photos and videos to both Facebook and Instagram that are going to be a little bit shorter and perhaps not as permanent since they expire in 24 hours. So as we mentioned a moment ago, this might actually be a great format for something like an update, hourly changes, or a sale that's coming up that you want to remind everyone subtly in the background is headed their way. So now that we've reached a couple of folks and we have just a few supporters in our communities, it's time to start engaging those communities so that as new supporters come into your social media platforms, they see that you don't just run a static business page. You are there to interact with the people in your community. And a fantastic way to demonstrate this is to think about the messaging that you share as a business. Your business's message is the way that you are going to connect and truly engage with that audience in a way that's going to stimulate meaningful interaction, such as a conversation or even a sale. One of the best formats to get this done is actually going live on Facebook and Instagram. It's a perfect way to connect with your audience face to face, if you will. It's a great space to show off a new product or a new service because you almost get a bit of a soft launch effect since the people in the live are watching it happen in real time and everyone who's there gets to see it. Everyone who wasn't there will catch it if you post a recap on your profile. Lives are also one of the best spaces where you can really establish yourself as a thought leader and an expert in your industry. Nothing proves to your customer that you really know what you're dealing with and what you're working with more than the ability to look directly into the camera on live and answer their questions. This is a great place for you to really establish that legitimacy that we're looking for as small business owners when we first land on social media. Now, keeping people engaged during these lives is usually what scares some business owners away from going live. How do I keep people paying attention and staying in this live video? There's a couple things that you can do, starting with the most obvious, and that's answer questions. And I know you may be thinking, what if no one asks me any questions during my live? That's so embarrassing. But I promise you, even if no one is asking you a question in the chat box below, you can always gather questions that you've already been asked in your business and use those to get you started during your live. As you answer questions, more questions may arise based on the answers that you've brought up. And once you get a really good comment, let's say you were able to answer someone's question expertly, or let's say you have some vital information regarding the live that you're currently doing, this is where you would leverage your pinned comments. You can always pin a comment to the screen on your live video, ensuring that every new user who enters your live event kind of catches up and understands what you're doing here. So don't worry about having to reintroduce what your live is about when you're live. It's also important to remember that these live sessions are great content. So for those business owners who might be thinking, sometimes I'm short on time and I don't have the ability to collect 50 pieces of content to schedule throughout the month, going live, even just once every now and then, provides you with tons of footage that you can cut up into clips. It provides you with screenshots that you can take and use as static posts. But one of the best things you can do with this live video is simply upload it to Instagram TV and have a long-form piece of content vouching for you when someone is investigating your profile and deciding if they want to do business with you. It's almost like having a 40-minute to 1-hour dissertation on your profile, proving that you are in fact the expert you said you were in your last Instagram feed post. Now, going live is a little bit of an off-the-cuff event. Sometimes we feel like, well, what if it's not good timing for everyone? What about when I go live if my audience is just not available at that moment? This is where events really step in. Scheduling events is one of the best things you can do to keep people engaged in your business because it turns your audience into a true community where now your followers start getting to know each other because they see each other's usernames in your events all the time. And so you're really creating a community for you to step into and lead from within as a business owner. Now, to keep these folks engaged, you can always sell tickets to your event, which of course is a new income stream for a business owner. But in addition to that, it almost guarantees that more folks are going to show up if they've registered for the event. Because if they've paid for a ticket, it's a lot easier to remember to actually attend your event. Keep in mind that your events, your business online, and anything that regards to it is not a secret. You can always share your business, share your events, share what you have to offer with your own community as an individual and ask for their support. And don't be shy about it. This is your business. In fact, most of your friends and family are already following, engaging with, and being a part of the community of other businesses online. So why not yours? Also keep in mind that your events don't have to be standalone. So if you know that what you want to cover is a little bit too deep for just one event, I'd really encourage you to set up a series of events because this allows you to get your audience into a sort of flow, into a habit of meeting with you on a regular basis, and it ensures that the next wave of followers that are coming into your social media profile have an event or a situation that they can engage with you in, rather than just letting them enter your Instagram profile, follow you, and maybe forget about you a little bit. Now, a little bit more about those paid online events, because obviously it's a lot more exciting than just a free event since it creates a new income stream for a business owner, right? Hosting those paid live events could seem like a little bit of a new experience for some of our business owners, since not only are we online, but hosting an event in general can be a stressful time for a business owner. I want to keep it simple for you because that's the best thing about social media. Things are a bit more casual. So to help you get started brainstorming on how you can engage your audience with those online events, here are a few examples of what type of events you can be hosting as a business owner. You could always start by hosting a simple class, choosing a topic. For example, we've chosen camera-ready looks in terms of hair care with this business Hair Day. They're going to teach their community how to recreate the look that they get in the salon at home so that when that individual is in a pinch and they want to look special, they want to look good for a special event, they can follow this tutorial and maybe remember to step into Hair Day Salon next time they need a blowout in person. Another great option for those of us who maybe are not service-based businesses is a virtual presentation. And this can be it doesn't have to be specifically about the product of your business. This presentation can really be about the problems that your business helps solve. So for example, if you were Hair Day, the hair salon, one of the problems that they help solve for their customers is that they save them time and effort by getting their hair done for them. So even if Hair Day wanted to choose a topic like multitasking or compressing time, taking advantage of your day, getting the most out of your time, this would still align with the mission of Hair Day and what they provide for their customers. You can also consider an original performance if you're more of a creative business. Some businesses offer creative products like paintings or specialty or artisan products. This is a really great opportunity for you to actually show off the talents and skills that help you get the job done. Now, how do you gather all of these folks in one place after they've been in the habit of visiting your events, they follow you on Instagram? How can we truly create a space where these folks can go gather and meet with you and each other? That is Facebook groups. Facebook groups are one of the best ways to catch everyone in your community in one spot and give them a closed, safe environment where they can have conversations regarding the topics that matter to you and your business. Having a Facebook group allows you to really engage with your customers in a more personal way, since this is a quiet space in the internet cut out just for you and your audience, where you can have side conversations that may be too niche for anywhere else on the internet. You can share information that is exclusively relevant to the audience members that are in that group. And you can also incentivize folks for becoming a part of your community by only offering specific tips within your Facebook group. This is a great place for you to provide resources for your audience and for you to organize the events we were just discussing. It's a great place for you to unify everything you're doing online and give your audience a space where they can gather, whether you're there that day or not. Getting people to join your group is actually a lot easier than it may sound. You don't have to already have followers in your ecosystem to start a group. You can always start by going to your Facebook group and clicking the Join Group button and sending a bulk invitation to everyone in your community to get you started with some audience members. This is also a great chance for you to actually create a post that links back to your group. This is going to create a shareable piece of content that people in your community, so your friends and family, can actually share with people outside of your community. So don't forget to, in addition to creating your Facebook group, also promote it. Let your friends and family know on Facebook that you're unifying a community around a specific topic, and not only ask them to join, but ask them to invite others, because maybe it's not for them, but maybe their best friend has been waiting for a hair Facebook group that's going to teach them how to keep flyaways away all day. Managing your group is also easier than you might think, considering Meta has so many different tools within Facebook's platform to help you do so. One of the most important things to keep in mind as you're managing your group is probably one of the primary points of this session. Nothing replaces engaging with your customers. Nothing can replace your presence on social media. You can also build a small team of administrators to help keep this Facebook group together as time goes on and your numbers grow. So you may find that this might be a space where you want to really establish norms and community guidelines so that everyone in your environment feels comfortable communicating in the group and simply reading content in the group. After a while, it might get a little bit out of hand as your numbers grow, and that's where these admins come in. They can help you answer questions, they can help you remove content that may not be appropriate for your group, and overall, they're there to support you. These are typically going to be your biggest fans and some of the first people that joined your Facebook group. Lastly, in order to have an admin team that's able to function adequately and serve you, you have to make sure that these guidelines are clearly visible in your Facebook group. One of the best ways to do this is to make a post under your announcements. Folks who are coming into the Facebook group are going to see this, and you can actually ask them to accept a certain term of norms and guidelines prior to even gaining acceptance to this group. So now that we're all set up on Facebook and we know how to manage our community once it gets there, let's talk about showcasing your services, probably one of the most important parts for business owners, right? Facebook is built in, Facebook and Instagram actually both have tools built in that help service providers manage all of their offers without ever leaving the platform. And let's actually start with the services that are on your Facebook page. On your Facebook page, you can list out the individual services that you offer as well as the pricing associated with them. And you can also let your customers know just how long your hours are, how often you're open, where they can find you, how they can contact you. This is all information that you can include right from the Services tab. So this allows customers to do business with you without ever leaving a social media platform. As you customize your services menu, you'll notice that you can add just about any service your business can offer. You can also change the availability very quickly from your smartphone by toggling on and off specific days. So let's say tomorrow you're closed due to a snowstorm. You can easily go onto Facebook and toggle tomorrow off in your availability, which makes it much easier for you as a business owner to let everyone know the news, as opposed to offline methods where a user might have to arrive at your location just to find out that sadly you're closed today. One of my favorite things about adding your services onto your Facebook business page is the ability to sync your calendars and have folks book appointments with you directly from your Facebook page. This is super important for anyone who's ever in back-to-back meetings, and especially for service-oriented business owners, since we don't so much have a product that we can just send out when we get a new sale. You can send reminders to your users so that they don't miss their appointment, and if you already have an appointment system, you can simply integrate with your Facebook page, so don't worry about setting up a whole new platform and going through a ton of steps all over again. Now, I know that one thing every business owner is short on is time, so I want to make sure that you know what tools and methods are at your disposal as a business owner to help you out. The Meta Business Suite there are 10,000 reasons why the Meta Business Suite is my favorite. This is my favorite app to use to manage Instagram and Facebook, but the very top reason is first on this list. Scheduling and publishing your posts from one single platform can be a huge game changer to businesses who are on Facebook and Instagram. So Meta Business Suite actually allows you to schedule for both platforms, manage your inboxes from both platforms, and read insights from both platforms without ever leaving the Meta Business Suite. It allows you to download one simple app or visit one website dashboard and manage everything regarding your online business. If you're a smartphone user, whether Android or iPhone, I would encourage you to download the Meta Business Suite app as soon as you get a chance, because the more you play around with this application and the sooner you connect it to your Facebook and Instagram pages, the easier your time will be managing both profiles. Posting on the Meta Business Suite is just about as easy as posting on Instagram or Facebook. It allows you to share posts on Facebook and Instagram, but it also allows you to preview those posts, because we know that it's a slightly different platform than Instagram or Facebook, and we want you to have peace of mind as a small business owner, knowing what your content is going to look like when it's actually launched. One of the most special things about Meta Business Suite, other than the fact that it allows you to manage both platforms, is the fact that you can create content for both. You can create posts for both Facebook and Instagram without ever leaving the app, and you can post the same post on both platforms from the Meta Business Suite. You also can schedule these posts ahead of time. So let's say that you're preparing your content for the rest of the week. You won't have to sit down and manually post on both Facebook and Instagram every day this week. You can simply set a little time aside on Sunday or Monday to set up your posts for the following week, schedule them in Meta Business Suite, and they're ready to go. You'll see them when they're live on your profile. Now, this part of your business, your business's online presence, is usually the piece that gets a little out of hand as we grow. So it may not be a problem right now, but as you scale your business and build that online presence a little bit deeper and a little bit bigger, you're gonna wanna use Meta Business Suite to manage your inbox on both platforms. This is also a great tool for business owners who may be on the go regularly, because it allows you to include a welcome message that sends automatically when individuals message your business. It also allows you to set away messages. So if you're outside of business hours and a customer messages you, you can prevent a scenario where they feel like maybe you're leaving them on read by sending them that automatic message. Lastly, you have saved replies at your disposal. So let's take a look at this example. It looks like this business already has two saved replies that they can send to this customer. And the first one's actually exactly about their question. Saved replies are going to save you so much time if you have a set of frequently asked questions that still makes it into your inbox every now and then. As you've built all of this content and you spent all this time growing your online presence, How will we measure the success of your efforts? Insights are going to be your very best friend in helping you understand the performance of your content. It helps you track how your posts are performing, learn what your community actually wants to see, and create content that is really resonating with your audience. Now, when this content really resonates and we know that it's doing much better than the rest of our posts, we're looking at an opportunity to maybe turn it into an ad. This is all something you can do directly from Meta Business Suite, which you can use on your desktop or your iPhone to save you a ton of time taking care of posts on both sides, Instagram and Facebook. So I know we've covered a lot of information thus far, and I want to take a moment to discuss a few of the takeaways from these previous conversations we've just had. So as we're exiting this section of our time together, keep these 3 things in mind. First, remember that the most important step to establishing a presence on Facebook and Instagram is simply to start and establish that presence. So you want to make sure your Facebook and Instagram pages are all good to go. Remember that experimenting with tools like saved replies, messaging, different formats for video, photo, stories, this is what's going to keep your strategy exciting and keep you moving toward what works for your audience. So always give that creative idea a shot and then see how the audience responds to it. Engaging with people on Facebook and Instagram is really the way that you're going to win the community's heart. You can do this through Instagram Live, events, groups, and by showcasing your services to help users want to interact with you, giving them a reason. Lastly, remember that Meta Business Suite is really your best friend when it comes to managing Instagram and Facebook from a central location. So that tool is always available for you whether you have an iPhone, an Android, or you want to use it from desktop. And now that we've covered the basics of how we get ourselves set up on these platforms, let's actually talk a little bit about how we can get creative, because now we're feeling a little more confident. We've established the presence and we have our profile set up. First, let's distinguish what we mean by creative. You're creative, when we refer to your brand's creative, we're really talking about the photos and the videos that you use for your posts and your ads. We're talking about the copy that you use on your post and your ad, because every piece of writing has a tone and a message. And we're talking about the way that you use these photos, videos, and copy to really build an experience for your audience. This experience, of course, is called your brand, but more on that in a little bit. Your creative is one of the most important factors into whether or not your posts are going to be successful on Facebook or Instagram. And the same thing goes for advertising. Everyone who's ever swiped away on an ad knows exactly what I mean by your advertising content must be creative, engaging, educational, and valuable to the audience. So there's a couple of creative challenges that almost every business owner encounters as they're thinking about social media content. Primarily, we've got time, money, resources, and knowledge. As we mentioned, every business owner can sometimes be short on time. Sometimes we don't have the funds to hire a social media manager. At times, we may not have the resources or the time to gather as many photos as we need for social media content. And sometimes we just don't really know what we're doing, what direction we're going in with our social media profiles. So my goal is that by the end of our time together, you'll have a sort of guide or blueprint to help you implement these processes in your own business. We're going to first cover the basics of branding. So we're talking about Business Branding 101. What does this mean and how do you apply it to your business? Next, we'll cover the 3 C's: customer, copy, and creative. We'll talk about what to do when you're deciding what to post or advertise, what it'll look like when you're creating your content, and we'll help you remix your photos so you can continue to create content over and over and over again without feeling like you're running out of resources. But first, let's define business branding. Your business brand is really the essence that your business is associated with. Take a look at the example of Lucky Shrub. When you look at these 6 photos and their logo, you truly receive the same experience. We see that there are similar colors, similar tones, similar moods, and even some of the iconography that they use in their logo is similar to the actual products that they're selling. Your brand is supposed to help people determine how they're going to feel about your business. So this is really the time for you to get creative and think about what effect your visuals have on the viewer rather than simply putting the visuals out. We really want to define what our business's brand is, because without a brand, we're not sure what our business's voice is. And especially on social media, consumers really want to know what your business feels like, what it's like to do business with you, what your values are before they ever do business with you. You have about half a second to use your brand to convince someone that you are someone they might want to do business with. Now, don't worry, this is not a scary process. There are actually a few simple steps that you can use to determine what your business's brand will be. Whether or not you've taken the time to sit down and carefully think about what your business's brand looks like online, I want to make sure that you know that Facebook Boost has some resources for small business owners specifically to help you build your branding. You can visit the URL on screen to take our course on branding for business owners, but we will cover a few of the essentials during the session. Now, whether or not your business already has an established brand, here are some of the steps that you might want to consider or reconsider as you're defining what your voice and brand is going to look like online. Your business's brand speaks to the purpose, its visual identity, and the voice that your business is going to carry online. Whether we realize it or not, our Instagram business profiles and our Facebook business pages tell a story about who we are and what our business stands for and represents. So as you're gathering your thoughts on what your business's purpose is, think about what your main goal is. Why did you start this business? As you're thinking of your visual identity, think about how you would want people to see your business. How should it be perceived? And as you're setting the voice, visit that purpose again and think about what tone and what energy you would want to have in sharing that message. And we have a little bit of an example here that may have gone a little wonky, but that's okay. You can always take a photo of this screen and fill this out yourself, or you can take a note of what the example looks like. But let's actually go over this together, right? When you're determining your brand's purpose, there's a couple of things you want to keep in mind, but the primary one really is, who are you and what does your business do for people? And now that's not a service or a product. What impact does your business have on a customer's life? So if you look at this quick example we have on screen, you can fill this out on your own, but we have, hi, we're Lucky Shrug. Our blank, So essentially, when you're filling out this form, you're thinking about who your business is and what you're fond of. So you're answering the question, we're fond of blank, blank, and blank, and we're really excited about, or we're really focused on blank, blank, and blank. What are the things that make you as a business owner say, that's why I started this business? What are those moments that make you think, I can make my product better or my business better? What experiences do you have that inspire changes in your services or products? And think about the experience that your customer is having on the other end. What are some of the experiences that your business facilitates for that individual? And is that the same thing as what you're promoting in your content as your brand's messaging? Now let's talk about the visual aspect of our brands. Messaging can take a bit of a moment to craft, so this is something we can think about for days, weeks, or even months until we've really determined what we want our business to look like or to feel like. But when it comes to the visuals for our brand, we can almost always determine what those will be based on how we want people to perceive our brand. The purpose of these visuals are to help folks identify you. So when they see your Instagram profile, as we mentioned in the last example, if they see Lucky Shrub's Instagram profile and then head to Facebook and run into another page called lucky shrub, they will always know that it's associated with the page they know and love on Instagram if you're using the same visuals. So if we're using the same profile picture on both platforms, our photography has the same mood, lighting, and tone each time, then users, even without seeing your logo, can pretty much tell that that's your business's product. In addition, if you're ever in a position where there's a competitor with similar branding or anything of the sort, your business may have already established your presence online, and users may already be associating that style with you. So let's talk about your brand's voice. Now that we've discussed what it's going to look like when a user enters your business page on either Facebook or Instagram, what should your brand really sound like? What are you saying? It doesn't matter whether or not your business is going to be a bit more on the serious end or on the funny side, whether you like to keep things casual or formal, or whether or not you're an extremely enthusiastic writer or you like to keep things matter of fact. Your brand's voice is what people are listening to. So think about the tone you're writing your captions and Facebook posts in, because this is really what people are hearing. And so we want to make sure that the messaging really matches the spirit of our business. You can think of your business's brand as your business's personality. People have personalities and businesses have brands. As your content is appearing on Facebook and Instagram, things are going to look a little bit different. So I want you to take note of how small, for example, the profile photo or your logo is going to be. So we want to make sure that as users are scrolling on their phone, they can actually see and discern what they're looking at when they're looking at things like our profile photo. These are small considerations that actually make a difference and make your business seem a little more professional on social media. Keep in mind of where your photos and your copy are appearing. So if your photo is going to be cropped once uploaded to Instagram, you might want to do some editing offline to make sure that you're getting the very specific part of the photo that you wanted as a visual up. You also want to pay attention to things like your caption. Did you write enough? Did you write too much? We want to make sure that our users are getting the full message above the fold and before that message truncates and gives us the read more button for the user to continue reading the caption. In most cases, even if we have too much written, as long as we can get the main message across in those first 1 or 2 sentences, you should probably be safe with your content. Now let's talk about the 3 C's, because this is the part that gets exciting and much more creative. Customer, creative, and copy. These are the 3 things you want to keep in mind as you're building your brand's voice, look, and all of the aspects that are going to define what you appear like on Facebook and Instagram. Starting with your customer. It's important that you know everything you can about your customer. And I don't mean just their age, sex, and location, and maybe what their hobbies are. I mean that customer's experience. What experiences are they having in their day-to-day life that your business could actually help with? Why should that person care about your specific product or business? How do you do it different? Your customer is obviously always your main priority. So this is one of the first steps that we want to take when we're building a business brand or as we're building content for our social media platforms. Next, we want to consider our creative. What do you want to show your customers? If you had one chance to show your ideal customer a piece of content, what would you want them to see? This is why it's so important to think about whether or not your content actually relates to your audience, whether or not that content is something, whether or not your copy is something that your audience is interested in reading. And speaking of copy, think very hard about what your customers need to know about your business that they couldn't already learn from your website or your general information on Facebook or Instagram. What's missing in this picture? So take a moment to step aside and look at your business from a third-person perspective, as if you weren't the business owner. And think about what information you could inject into your social media strategy that's going to fill gaps in the user's understanding of what your business offers. Nowhere is this type of consideration more important than in your advertising, because Facebook and Instagram ads obviously have funding behind them. Business owners tend to pay attention to the analytics and insights of these much more closely. But I think something you should really be paying attention to when it comes to your ad is your customers. First, let's think about where our customers are going to be viewing our ads and what that experience is going to look like for them. So as we're creating our advertising, we're not so much thinking about, well, this is pretty, I like it. We're thinking more about the experience that the user has on the other end. So let's say that Little Lemon is looking for people nearby, looking for locally sourced farm-to-table food. There's a couple things that they implemented in this ad that I think you should take note of as a business owner. Starting with the creative. You always want to use high-resolution photography in your Facebook ads or Instagram ads. Don't worry about the resolution or file size being too large. Simply focus on having a great image that your user can clearly see. As you're thinking about the caption for your content, specifically for your advertising, one of the most important pieces to keep in mind is you want to make sure that that copy doesn't truncate. So as you take a look at this example, notice how Little Lemon used a short caption that you can easily read in just about 1 to 2 lines. We know that content tends to truncate and produce a read more button at about 3 lines, so you want to be mindful of how much you're writing so you can always be above the fold and get your full message across to your audience. So now that we understand what the anatomy of these pieces of content looks like and how viewers are going to be seeing this content, let's decide what we're going to post and what we're going to release as an ad. So what should you be posting as part of your content? And how are you going to decide what pieces move on to a paid post or to a paid advertising? You want to keep a mixture of these 3 points in mind as you're creating your ads and your content. Your goal should always be to engage the community, educate them, and excite them. And it's not one or the other. We really want to make sure we have a combination of all 3 in all of the content that we produce, whether it's an ad or an organic post. Engaging your customer means getting them interested in what you have to offer. What is exciting to that customer? What catches their attention? Think about the 3 C's and how we touched earlier on what you should really know about your customer. You also want to give some sort of value to your audience by educating them or showing them something that they may not have seen before. And lastly, you want to get your audience excited to purchase from you. So this might be a call to action, a limited time offer, or some other form of marketing that you decide to implement as a business owner to really get that person to get excited taking action now rather than saying they'll take action later and possibly forgetting. As you're creating your content, there are so many tools at your disposal to make these pieces of content seem exciting. There are also so many little tricks to create and generate as many resources as you can to have in your files for social media content. One of the first things you want to keep in mind as you're working on your creative is actually making sure that it really fits into that brand that we defined earlier. So as you're thinking about how you want your business to be represented, there are also smaller considerations aside from things like, for example, colors that you want to take in mind. There are tiny things like the quality of your creative that can actually make a user swipe on you early. So you want to make sure that you have reduced blur. You don't want a pixelated image like what we see on screen. And you should probably avoid using the zoom feature, as many cell phone cameras, as advanced as they are, can sometimes appear to be lower in resolution when we zoom our photos in. It's always better to just actually get a little bit closer to your subject. It's important to remember that even though you are posting content on Instagram, you are still a business and you are still a brand. So including photos that seem like they're part of your brand while also including things like your logo and your business's name within the first 3 seconds of your of your content helps you introduce your business at the beginning of that content. So if the user makes it to the end of the video or they read the caption and they love this post, they remember who created it and are incentivized to follow you. Videos are one of my favorite ways to communicate with audiences online as they are much more engaging than any other medium. But remember that attention spans are running a little low nowadays. So you want to keep your videos shorter than 15 seconds. You should also consider that captions and titles can take a bit of time to read. So consider using shorter language in written form on your videos so folks actually make it all the way to the end. Now, you and I know better than anyone that not every single user is viewing those videos with full volume at all times. Most of the time, we're scrolling through Facebook or Instagram without the sound on. So this is a great reminder for you as a business owner that you need to design your content for whatever methods your user is using to view. Make sure that your videos don't include any critical information in just the audio track so that users who are watching on mute, kind of like in this example, can simply read off the screen instead of losing one of the most important pieces of your message. Now, speaking of the copy that we touched on earlier in this presentation, let's talk about what makes good copy. We spoke on the fact that your copy should be concise and it should be to the point. But it's important to also consider the purpose of this copy. Is there a specific action that you want your audience to take? Do you have some value that you want to offer that customer? For example, an educational piece that might teach them something? And are you using words that are engaging and exciting and trigger action on the other user's end? Sometimes people don't know what action you want them to take if you don't tell them directly. So this is where your call to action goes, above the fold and easy to read, so that if a user starts to lose interest as they're reading the caption, the piece that you were hoping was going to reignite their interest is actually at the top. Now remember that as you're getting creative and playing around with all these visuals, you are still a business and you still have a brand. So we want to make sure that our elements are all consistent as we're creating our social media content. Does your caption relate to the photo that's in question? Make sure that the things that are most important about your business are actually being highlighted. And you can also use these captions as your opportunity to actually describe what's in your image. A quick tip that actually makes your content more accessible is to actually add a description of what's in the image in the alternate text on your Instagram post. This allows folks who are maybe hard of seeing to be able to consume your Instagram content, and it's obviously, being the most accessible as possible is a huge benefit to any business. So making sure that your caption relates to the photo, as well as little details like the alternate text on our Instagram posts, are all describing what our user is seeing. So here are some of the considerations that you want to keep in mind as you're creating this content, because I know that we've discussed the how-to for a while now, but let's see what this looks like in action and how you can replicate it at home. Let's start with setting up a DIY studio as a business owner. You don't need anything fancy to get yourself going and producing content. In fact, one content creation session can actually carry you through several weeks of social media content. Here's a couple tips to make it easier for you to set up. First, remember that anywhere in your home that has natural light, it can be a good choice. You can also use white paper or cardboard to bounce light toward your object or your subject, as you'll see in just a moment in this video. There are so many items just laying around your house that can make you a better content creator. Like, for example, you don't have a tripod? A stack of books works just as well to help you get those above the product shots and create amazing professional looking content. Remember that one of the most simple and interesting pieces of photography is simply the angle and perspective. So playing around with different backgrounds, playing around with different angles can make your product seem a lot more interesting than even you ever thought it could in a photo. As you're creating this content, you'll probably be taking a lot of photos. So here's a few tips to help you create the best possible images you can for your business. You want to remember that a light source is really the most important component of content creation. Whether we're talking video or photos, having a natural light source will always look amazing. So don't worry if you don't have a fancy ring light. You can always try experimenting with different backgrounds and surfaces, incorporating props like, for example, orange slices for an orange flavored drink to help your product look more interesting. And it's also a nice detail to sometimes include just a human touch. That way the user can understand and really contextualize what the product would look like in their very own life by someone's example. Now, going live can be one of the most intimidating aspects of running a social media, a business's social media. But I want to assure you that they're actually one of the most casual environments in which you can interact with your audience. There's just a couple quick tips you want to keep in mind, like, for example, natural lighting that's not too overexposed or too underexposed, making sure that you have a clean and neat environment to go live in, and if you're filming in an environment where your device is actually a little bit further away from you, make sure that the device is propped up on something sturdy like a heavy bottle or a tripod so you can ensure that it's not going to move as you're going about on your live. So how do we make all of these pieces of content seem consistent? Because I just showed you different ways and different methods that you can create content in. Notice how if you look at the photos we just saw on screen, they all seem to fit together, even though they look different. And that's really because of the lighting, the tone, the colors, and the props. So as you're looking at this example, notice that every photo is well lit. It all has bright lighting, which may be the opposite for some brands. For example, Little Lemon, which we saw just a few moments ago, tends to use more moody photography, but some brands have a really light look to them. So you really want to consider what your business's brand looks like and play around with props and lighting to help you create that cohesive look. The most important piece is that it's consistent. So it doesn't matter which style you choose, so long as it is a set and identifiable style for your specific brand. And you might be thinking, yeah, I only have 50 photos from that last photo shoot I did as a business owner. How am I going to make this last across 3 months of social media content? I assure you that there is already a photo or a video in your archives that could be remixed and used for social media. Sometimes it just takes a little bit of editing. And when it comes to editing photos, we all know that Instagram is one of the best places to do it. You've got tons of filters that you can play around on Instagram, to make your content much more exciting. And a bit of a tip, this is also one of the best ways to make your content look consistent. If every photo uses the same filter or a very similar filter, particularly when you use the same Instagram filter throughout, you'll notice that your content looks super seamless. When someone visits your Instagram profile, it'll look like just one photo shoot and one single long piece of content, almost like a catalog. Instagram's editing tools also go further than just allowing you to add a filter. You can really change everything from the crop to the brightness to the shadows of your photo. And this is a great space for you to refurbish some of those photos that maybe you thought weren't going to make it out onto Instagram. So as you can see in our example, you can really edit just about anything about your photo to make it perfect for your business. Now, if you're a little bit worried about perfection and it stresses you out to post an Instagram post that you might feel like is not finished, you need to get playing with Instagram stories. This is one of the best environments for you to get comfortable creating content because it's a little more casual than our feeds on Instagram. Think of your Instagram profile as your digital storefront. And if that's the case, then your Instagram stories are the employee outside ushering folks in and encouraging them to come visit your profile. Your profile is a lot more casual than your feed posts, so play around here and engage your community. Having fun stickers like the poll sticker or the sliding voting sticker on your Instagram story helps you gain a little bit of feedback from your audience, but this is also a place where you can play with the look and feel of your brand, as you can add several different fonts, several different filters, and change them to virtually any color possible. As you're editing your content, you might think, maybe I don't have all of the tools that I need at my disposal inside of Instagram. And this is where products like Canva really step in. This is a really good opportunity for you to expand your horizons outside of just the native editing tools in Facebook or Instagram, because Canva opens the doors to so many other editing options that you can make to your photo to make sure that it's really having an effect on your audience. Canva also has excellent templates for business owners that might want to share infographics, or perhaps you just wanted to have a beautiful Instagram story as your first slide today. Canva is a great space to find stock photos and to actually edit the photos you already have. You want to make sure that as you're creating these graphics, and even as you're exiting Instagram to create your assets, everything still looks like it's a part of the same brand. So you want to make sure that those branding colors are already established as you're creating your graphics and such, and you want to apply them to the graphics that are going to make it to your Instagram profile. Even as we're having fun, we cannot forget the basics of establishing our business's brand. I also encourage you to combine multiple photos and to get really creative with how you're presenting your content. So just because you had 2 photos that are of different products or just completely different shots doesn't mean that you can't combine them into a new Instagram post. You can also use them individually as just photo posts. And there you go. You're looking at 3 Instagram posts on screen from just a couple of images. And there are still tons of ways that we could remix these images and use them throughout our content. So remember that you always have more at your disposal than you really think you do. Let's talk about a few main takeaways that I think are really important to keep in mind as you exit this session and we continue the rest of our day today. First, remember that your brand should be incorporated into everything that you do, because people have personalities, but businesses have brands. So what is your business's personality? Remember to engage, educate, and excite in everything that you do. Users are coming to social media because they want to have fun with friends and family. So as a business, you want to make sure you're offering them some kind of value, either in the form of information or experience. You're keeping them excited, and you're making them want to engage with you, because social media is a two-way street. Remember the 3 C's that are going to carry you through this branding journey: customer, copy, and creative. Your customer's experience goes first, so think beyond their name, their age, their location, their gender, and think about the experiences that they have in the day-to-day. Use that to guide your copy and your creative visuals. Lastly, remember that you always have more resources than you think you do. So you can remix old photos in tons of creative ways using tools like Canva to promote your business. Don't be afraid of stock photos. Canva is also a great resource for business owners to search up a stock photo and quickly create Instagram posts. If you like the topics that we've covered today and you want to expand your learning a little bit further, I also encourage you to visit facebook.com/blueprint. This is where you're going to find all of the courses Facebook has available to you as a business owner to help you further your online presence and really grow that brand into a mid-size and hopefully one day large-size company. If you want to interact with other business owners who have been a part of this Facebook Boost community, I encourage you to visit the Boost with Facebook US Facebook group. This is where you're going to find business owners that are in the Meta ecosystem, learning about how to use all of our tools for their business. So it's a great place for you to chat with other folks in the same seat as you. And now we're actually going to open up for a couple of questions. So Christine is going to give me a hand, and we're going to go ahead and get started.
Okay, thank you, Darlene. Let's give her a round of applause. Such valuable information. I guess, actually, I'll start with a quick question. If someone wanted to use an expert like yourself, I mean, you gave us a lot of good information. How do we go about doing that for our business?
Yeah, absolutely. If you actually are looking for an expert to be paired up with from the Meta team, I'd actually refer you to my colleague Antonia, who's in the back of the room. Yes, hi. Yeah, so that you can also get a little bit of help, a little bit of hands-on activity. But I also really encourage you to use that facebook.com/blueprint site, because that's where you're going to get all of our digital resources. So exhaust those resources first, and then, contact Meta and see what they can do.
Thank you, Darlene. Did you have a question?
Can you talk about businesses getting verified on Instagram and how the process works?
Yeah, so getting verified on Instagram actually is not, it's not something you apply for, if you will, and then can, get denied and stuff like that. Verifying businesses on Instagram is really to help protect users against fraud, fake accounts, bot accounts, and things like that. And it's typically awarded to accounts where the user responsible or the business responsible has brand recognition. So again, back to establishing that brand. You also want to have citations to your business in articles and news sources of this and the like. But then the Instagram team will actually make the ultimate decision based on how much competition there is on the app and the speed at which your business is growing, the size at which your account is at, and of course those bots and accounts that may be fighting for your handle. And so one of the best ways to get started with that, because I want to give you a full answer, one of the best ways to get started toward getting verified is to get your business incorporated into press and involved in the conversations in your industry, because that's actually one of the easiest ways to get picked up on that radar.
Hi, I have a question. Probably it's in the Facebook blueprint, but it's really easy to connect your contacts in your Facebook page. But how you can do that in your Instagram page?
Yeah, I'm so happy you asked that, because I think I just noticed that update recently.
Okay.
If you go to your settings on Instagram, you should see a button that I think says invite people, but don't quote me on that. In your settings on the Instagram app, there's now an add contacts or invite people option where you can kind of scan your contact book and see how many people you already know on Instagram, and then you can invite the people that aren't on Instagram.
I'll say, great job today. I was going to say, we've used the Facebook jobs to fill a lot of positions. I was going to say, can you expound to the crowd on the Facebook jobs? And maybe when you do a boosted ad, how you can target people that might be interested in your services.
Oh my gosh, yes, absolutely. I'm so excited that you brought up Facebook jobs, because this is something we talk about in some of our sessions. But if you're an employer who is looking to hire, Facebook jobs is one of the best ways to do it, because all a user has to do is open Facebook, go to the jobs section, and then sort jobs there. From your end as a business owner, you get a handy dashboard. So as folks are applying to a certain position, you can mark one of 3 emojis on a user to mark your level of interest. So you can mark not interested, you can set them as a maybe with a question mark to remind yourself that you had more questions about their application, or you can actually initiate a conversation with them from Messenger. So this is where things really get handy, because I know y'all go through tons of applicants, but if you can work your way through the applicants list just using messages on Facebook, it's really going to pare down that list of people you have to meet one-on-one with, so you can focus on just interviewing the candidates that are most interesting to you. Facebook jobs also makes it really easy to advertise that job posting. You can actually boost your job position so that folks are in the area are receiving that job as an open position in their area, and you're getting your job post served to people who are already within the demographics of what you're looking for. So let's say you're looking for somebody who has 15 years of experience. It might be tough for an 18-year-old to have 15 years of experience. So you could even set to where maybe you are only looking for somebody who's above 21 because your business involves an ABC license and you need something of those specifics. Facebook job postings actually make it extremely easy to expand the audience that's seeing the job post, but it also makes it very easy to sift through those audiences yourself.
How easy is it to link your page to any of your chamber certifications or NMSDC certifications or anything like that?
I'm not sure if there's a direct linking feature that would give you like a specific badge, to those certifications, but I'll tell you what, it would be a great thing to include in your descriptions or in the information about your page. You'll notice that when people visit your Facebook page, one of the first things they see is a summary of your info. So having those certifications right up there might be an excellent choice for you. You might also want to put them in your Instagram bio if you know that this is something that's super important to your audience specifically. If it were something that's of mid or moderate or low importance to your audience, then it might be something you place on your website or make an individual post about. But those really critical things that set us apart, we want to put them in our bios.
Hi. The feature of Instagram where you have a video or a picture, and then underneath that it says "shop now," or is that easy to put together? Oh, because that's important. Sometimes you just want to see a picture or see a video and then send people to where they going to buy the good. I didn't see that.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll tell you how you can execute this on the organic content side and on the advertising side. So on the organic side, on Facebook, as you're creating a post, if you're a business page, you can create a call to action. So for example, remember a moment ago we were talking about sharing your Facebook group. So if you want to promote that you have a Facebook group, you can create a post and include a link directly to that so folks can just click in. But when you're running an ad, you actually choose different calls to action depending on what the purpose of your ad is. So if your goal is to generate leads, for example, then you can set your advertising as in the exact same location where you set the objective of the ad. You can actually set whether or not you want it to say sign up, whether or not you want it to say learn more, shop now, anything of the sort. So on the advertising side, that's set up as you're setting up the objective for your ad. And on the organic side, those buttons are only on Instagram ads, not on Instagram organic content yet. But on Facebook, you can denote a specific call to action with a button, depending on where you want that post to take people. This actually happens as you're creating the Facebook post. So this is something you can do from Meta Business Suite, which I recommend creating the post in there, or you can do it from your desktop.
One more question, I'm sorry. How easy is to detach yourself from your personal and your business? Because it happens to a lot of people that you have to have a personal and then you create your business and then all of a sudden they don't know what to do. It posts in both. I mean, it's like a whole to do. And I just want you to give us some light on that.
Yeah, absolutely. I would treat them like separate entities. So I would almost treat it like when you're posting on your business page, you are becoming that business's brand. Remember how we talked about how a person has a personality and a business has a brand? So you are now stepping into the role of that business. If your business were personified, if it were turned into an individual, what would they sound like? What would they be talking about? Sometimes this is super similar to who the business owner is as an individual, and that's totally, totally okay. But here's where I would make the distinction. All of the business, professional stuff, things regarding directly to the business, goes on the Facebook business page. All of the personal stuff, like you got a new puppy or your daughter won her soccer game or anything along those lines, goes on the personal end. Now, Instagram is a little bit more casual. People sometimes love seeing things like your daughter's soccer game and stuff on that business's story, especially if the account is run by the business owner themselves. But on our Facebook business page, we want to keep it a little more professional since it's the digital storefront, if you will. Stories are a great space for us to have fun and maybe even post a little more personal content. But when it comes to Facebook, I would keep those two separate. Even though you have to have a personal Facebook page in order to create the business one, really treat the personal one the way that you would treat being at your grandmother's home or being at your cousin's home. You would treat this as more of like a familial, like family safe personal environment versus if you were at a conference, that's what it feels like when you're posting from the business page.
Yeah, that's important. And I think also, there's a whole nother topic around, what you post and your image. And so you do have to be careful as a business owner. You don't want to be posting with your friends drunk in a place, and then, what message are you sending? And so, yeah, I think all of that is important. The content that you're putting out for anyone to see, you have to realize that does connect to your business. So. Well, Darlene, we're out of time. Unfortunately, this is an excellent topic, and we know the impact that you're making on Latina and Latino businesses around the country, and we thank you for your expertise and for the presentation today. Let's give her a round of applause.
Thank you.
Thank you. Enjoy the rest of the conference. Thank you.